Okay. Is it focused? Looks a little blurry. Can you move your phone? Can you tell if it looks blurry?
Nope.
I guess there's like a little bit of glare from the window. Can you move your foot? Not that one. This one. Okay. Let me get in. Okay, now you can go back. This one you can move back to. Okay. It's going? You see the numbers moving?
I cannot.
Okay. Are you ready to giggle?
I'm ready to start.
Okay.
I'm serious and professional.
Me too. Okay. Do I have your consent to record?
You do?
And are you participating in this interview on your own will?
I am.
Do you like dogs?
I love dogs.
Okay, good. Maybe he can join you.
Come on. Come on.
There you go. Okay. So today I want to talk to you about your retirement and the decisions that you've made and how you came about to where you are now in your retirement. How long have you been retired?
Oh, I've been retired since I was 58,
Okay.
and I'm 71 now, so almost 20 years. 16 years.
Okay. Not a trick question because we don't have a calculator, so that's
I
fine.
know.
All right. So thinking back, what did you originally imagine your retirement would look like when you were younger?
When I was younger, like child,
Yeah, when you first kind of heard the word retirement or heard adults speaking of the word retirement, what do you remember?
well, my parents were both what you'd call blue collar workers, and so not kind of middle class. And their idea of retirement was that they were going to live in a mobile home in Florida for their retirement. So that was always what I considered retirement, was that you would go someplace pleasant and live, and then not have to work again at your normal retirement age of about 65.
And 65 was the
Yes.
age that generally people retired from work?
Yes.
Okay. So once they were at 65, they would pack up their home.
Mm-hmm. That's right. They would move. They wouldn't have a home anymore up north. They would move totally and live year-round in a southern state. My parents were going to go to Florida, and my dad was going to fish and just relax and enjoy the good weather.
Okay. Sounds like a good plan. I was wondering, did this have any decision planning to do with your mom? Did your mom work?
My mother was an RN. She didn't work full-time. So it wasn't an issue for her. She would just work a year or two here and there when there was an economic need for it. So she would be able to pull up stakes and move anytime.
Anytime. Okay. So it's based on our father's career and when he hit that age.
And collecting Social Security.
Okay. So in his employment, did he have a pension?
He didn't have a pension.
Okay.
He was a union worker. He probably had, I don't know real details about that. He probably had a savings
Okay.
that had to do with his union, and not a pension though. It would be just Social Security and whatever he saved through his life.
Okay. All right. So fast forwarding to when you were in your 40s, 50s, did you think you would retire in this way?
Well, I did. I thought that retirement would come, and your father and I would both quit work, and I didn't know exactly if it would be Florida, but probably to a pleasant climate area, and we would have a home there, and that would be our retirement.
Um, and I was wondering, during the 40s and 50s when you were planning, far off in advance, but you were still had it in your mind, what were you doing in your life currently?
Both of us, or just me?
Just you for now.
Okay. I was an RN working until my late 30s in a hospital setting in an ICU. And then I went back to school to become a nurse practitioner, and I worked for 20 years in a college health clinic as a nurse practitioner taking care of college students.
Okay. And when you went back to school, did you have an easy time? Was it a transition? Did you have many years of schooling?
Well, it was hard because what I had was 2-year associate's degree as to be an RN. So I had to first get my bachelor's degree, and that did not get me any farther in a career. That was just as an RN, bachelor's degree. And then I had to get my master's degree as a nurse practitioner. At first I was going to be an educator, a college professor. That was my focus. And then it turned out that I didn't really like that. So I went back an extra year for the nurse practitioner courses. So I ended up going, and it wasn't always full time because I had kids at home and a family, and I was still working part time in an ICU. So it was really hard. It was hard on my kids too.
Well, I guess that's another interview to talk about TV dinners.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Because I actually don't really remember how long it took. What was it?
It took, let's see,
years, but do you remember how many years?
about 4 or 5.
Okay. And when you decided to get your new job in your new career, did you decide about a college health center? And if so, were you particularly interested in that college health center because it happened to be a state school?
No, actually, I didn't even realize that there was a job market for a nurse practitioner in a college setting. I was going to be in a doctor's office with a doctor as a collaborating physician and have my practice there. Like his clients would make an appointment with me or him, that kind of setting. I saw an ad for the college health, and I applied just because at that time I was sending out lots of resumes everywhere and interviewing, and that was the one that I got the job.
Okay. And did any of the benefits that come with working for a state institution make you decide that this was the good option for you?
Absolutely, because the other options would probably have not had much of a retirement pension, and of course working for a state institution, I had very good benefits for retirement, matching funds, and being able to, it wasn't a pension. I had a choice between a pension and just a matching fund kind of thing. If I put in 3%, they'll put in 5%, that kind of thing. But it was a very good plan.
Is that a 401k?
It was a type of,
yes,
it was a type of 401k. It was called TIA CREF.
Okay. Well,
and it was the ability to put money into to an account that you would not pay taxes on until you retired.
Okay. And your salary, was this just an additional benefit, or did you and Dad decide that the extra income would go to specific expenses?
Well, it was an additional benefit in that we could have lived on your father's salary. My salary turned out to be, after we looked at our budget and finances, to save as much as possible for retirement, put in extra as much as you could that was protected by the laws, and then to use it for specific things like college education for you two kids.
And just to know, it's me,
Yes.
born in 1982,
Right.
and my brother,
Yes.
who's born in, he's gonna be so young, 78.
Yes.
Okay, so during this decision, I would have been in high school.
Yes, you were in high school when I went back to school,
Okay,
and then so you were late teens when I finished.
and Ben was
And
already
Ben
on
was
his own.
already out of the house. Yes.
All right. So when you got closer after you've gone through 5 years of education and you have this new cool career and you're enjoying your work,
I was.
presume,
Yes, I was.
and you have this extra income and benefits, did you change the way you envisioned your retirement?
I don't think we did. We sort of, your father and I both still had kind of the same vision of you hit a retirement age when you start to draw Social Security, you quit your job, you take the savings that you've made and you go someplace pleasant. You don't stay where you're living because winters we didn't enjoy, that kind of stuff. Like I said, maybe not Florida per se, but we did envision south, tropical, warm, something like that. And my ability to put more money into savings made it that we could do much better with our retirement.
More feasible of an option.
Economically, we would have a bigger base to retire on.
Okay. And so would you consider this vision that you had, and maybe even now if you had more money to elaborate on that vision, would you consider that a conventional retirement in the sense of the word retirement?
Yes, very conventional.
Okay.
Just very, you work all your life until you can get Social Security, then you quit working and you live an enjoyable life of wherever it is that takes you. I mean, everybody has a different vision. Maybe some people would move to the mountains, but we would have gone south for the nice weather.
So that was, would you say, in your opinion, generally the consistent theme across the board?
It was like that would. I didn't know anybody that would perceive of a different type of retirement than that. That seemed to be exact. That's what my parents wanted. That's what your father's parents did. It's just what everybody we knew. That's what their definition of retirement was.
Okay. And if you remember, what age were you when you retired?
I was 58. Now that was early. I couldn't draw retirement then. There was a specific reason. Do you want to know the reason that I retired?
would actually be interested in knowing the reason.
All right. So your father was 62, and he was ready to retire. He really wanted to. He didn't want to wait till 65, and at this point you could have an option of retiring at 62 with a little less Social Security. So we had his father and his stepmother living in Florida, and they were getting older and in poor health. So his goal was to go down and help them in this old age period of their time, because they were getting so that they needed a caretaker or help. So that's when we decided it would be Florida, and that's why we decided where it would be in Florida, because we wanted to live close enough to his father to assist with him in any way that needed to be assisted. So that's how we made the decision. And I didn't want to retire.
Interesting.
Yes, I was very happy with my job, and I almost didn't. I almost stayed behind, got a little apartment. There was a lot of talk of that. I would stay there for another 3 or 4 years, and I would go and see your father on summer breaks and winter breaks, and he would go down there and take care of his father. But in the end, that didn't appeal to either one of us, and we decided that we had a big enough base that we didn't have to be separated for 3 or 4 years, and so I did put in my notice and retire.
Okay. Were you able to retire? Because
I was.
if you say 62 was an option at this time, traditionally it's 65, and you're saying 58.
I was, well, let me explain that. I wasn't able to draw Social Security, but I was able to get my retirement benefits from my work. You have to have worked for 15 years and be over 55 in the state. So because of that, I could take all the money that they had put into my account, that was now mine because I had stayed long enough to collect it. And I could have the health benefits because I had stayed long enough. So I could have very reasonably priced health benefits, dental, eyes, and all the benefits you get from a state job. I could get at that time.
That's a good decision on your part there.
Yes, it was very good. It's always a good package when you work for the state.
Okay. Oh, I know there's a lot of factors going into that decision. Would you say it was financial, personal, or just the next step in life that just came about naturally?
For retirement at that time?
To decide to finally do it.
It was personal.
Okay.
Your dad was burned out, and he felt like his father needed help.
Okay. All right. You did mention that you struggled with the idea of stopping work.
Yes, I didn't want to.
Yeah. Was there any other feelings about deciding to relocate
and work?
Or yes, that'd be interesting. I would like to know that. But the idea of stopping one thing that you're enjoying is a life change.
Yes.
And then relocating to a new place is a life change. I'd be interested to know if that also caused you some
angst. It caused me a lot of angst.
Yeah.
Of course, I said I was happy where I was. I felt like I should still be working, that working was still a big part of my identity.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me, I thought about this quite a bit at the time. It took me 2 years before I felt like I was not being naughty.
For not
going to work.
Okay.
Like it took me several months before I felt like I've been on vacation too long and I need to go back. And then it took at least 2 years before I began to feel like I wasn't doing something wrong.
I see. So you're so used to that and working well.
Right.
Even if it wasn't at the College Health Center.
Right.
You had always worked.
Yes, I had always
in your
worked,
adult life.
Except for a few years I took off when you were born. Like 4 years. I had worked up to that point and since that point.
And then I, at this point, would most likely be moving on to my next step after high school.
Right.
And you wouldn't need to necessarily care for me, so that
Right.
role.
So I had an empty nest.
Yeah, so that was a trans. And did you miss your house that you lived in?
Yes, I did.
Up north?
Yes, I did. However, I was the one who didn't want to have 2 places. I mean, there is snowbirding, which means a house up north and a house in the south, and you go between the 2. And your father wanted to do that, and I did not, because that to me seemed like there was a lot of stress and anxiety associated with going back and forth between the 2 places. So I said, if we're going, we're going.
We're going. Okay. And in making that decision, that meant you had to sell the home
Yes, sell my home.
in the north.
That's right.
And
Which was very stressful.
it was very, I can imagine. Note to the viewer, because it was also my childhood home.
That's right.
But with the emotion aside, financially, this was a benefit. Could you describe the idea of not having to have two houses to not only just look after, but to financially look after, and the benefits of selling the northern home and then buying a house in the south?
I will tell you that. Can I make a little side note?
Mm-hmm.
Would you check to make sure that's still going? I'm just worried.
Yeah, we're at 20 minutes, and I guess we'll be cropping this part.
Okay. Good.
Oh, and that part too.
Well, it was really hard to sell the house up north because, as you said, it was your childhood home, and I had put a lot of decoration and reconstruction and everything into that place, and I really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the town that we lived in, and I liked the house and the location of it. And it was a really quick transition, so that was extra stressful because what happened was we knew that we were going to retire, but your dad did it kind of quick. Usually in his position you would give a year's notice. He gave 3 months notice.
Ooh.
And that meant we had to do us also 3 months notice for getting a house and finding a place down there. And I remember your dad came home on a Thursday. I remember this very distinctly. And he said, "I have good news and bad news. I sold the house today." And we didn't have it on the market or anything. We hadn't even talked to a realtor or anything. He said, "I sold it to a doctor at the hospital. I've already negotiated the price. She's agreed." She said, "The bad news is we have to be out in 21 days."
Okay. So your 3 months went to
21 days
gotcha.
to get out of this house. And we did it.
Mm-hmm.
And, we had a huge garage sale, and we just, we were taking people in the house to say, "Oh, would you like this bed? Would you like this couch?" And then when we were homeless.
Mm.
And then we made our intentions known to your papa,
Mm-hmm.
your grandfather, and we told him that we'd like to live close to him, and he and your aunt, Teresa, found us a house in his neighborhood, and we bought it sight unseen.
Oh, wow.
They went in it, they negotiated, and we were up north, and we hadn't even seen it or anything.
Mm.
Well, pictures.
Right, okay.
Pictures. But,
That's
but-
a hard
yes,
thing to
it's
just
hard.
judge by pictures.
And we got rid of everything except would fit in one of the smallest moving vans, and we moved ourselves down there.
Okay.
So yes, this was a really hard transition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the idea of that they found one in the right time that was also the right location.
Right.
Would you like to just share that it's how many houses away from
well,
Papa's?
it's 10 houses away
Okay,
down
so
the street.
That's
So
convenient.
easy 5-minute walk.
Okay.
And so we
That's
did
good.
intentionally, we liked it for that reason.
Okay, so if you don't mind me asking a little bit about financial information. So now Dad negotiated a price and he sold it. And then Papa and Aunt Teresa found a house. I'm sure they did their end of negotiating or what goes
Yes,
into
right.
buying a house. What was the benefit of all this working out in a financial standpoint based on the home, if you'd like to describe the financial situation of that home and then the new home that you're moving into.
I can do that. We owned our house outright. We did not have a mortgage on it, so we had bought it for $75,000 many 22 years ago.
Wow.
I know.
That doesn't exist.
I know. 22 years before this, we sold it for 145. So we did good with that.
Good job.
And the new house we bought down south was 180.
Ooh, that's
Yeah,
pretty good
that's very good.
situation there.
That's right. And we made up the difference in cash, and so we never carried a mortgage on the new house. So we moved into it mortgage free.
Good thing you had that extra income.
That's
Put
right.
aside that extra
That's what
cash.
it was for. That's what it was for.
Okay, good.
And of course now, that was some time ago, and the housing market has gone crazy. So the same place that we live in now, one of the other houses in the neighborhood, which are identical to our house, they're going for $450 now.
Okay, so you wouldn't currently have a mortgage.
I do not currently have a
That's correct.
mortgage.
And you do have the option, if ever it be needed, to sell, and you would have
Yes,
made a profit.
we would have made a large profit,
Do
3
you-
times as much.
Do you consider yourself financially stable based on that as an asset?
Well, based on that and other
Other
things, but yes, we feel very comfortable that we have what they call what do they call that, money that you
I'm
can
thinking
spend.
nest egg, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's the right.
Yeah, but money that isn't earmarked for any bills.
Okay, all right. So that is a benefit. Now, when you got down there and you had time to be down there and you stopped feeling guilty about
Yeah.
not working and playing hooky, did you reevaluate the decision of what retirement meant?
Yes. We were in a beautiful place. We were in the South. We could have sat in our backyard and been happy, but we were not content with that.
Okay.
We wanted to travel. And so that became the goal, was to figure out how we could enjoy ourselves and travel.
Okay.
And do you want me to elaborate on that?
I'd be interested to know what you originally thought was travel.
Okay.
Like, what were your
Yes.
thoughts on that?
Okay.
I mean, so we have a permanent residence,
Right.
in Florida, and then, what would be your options in this travel scenario of retirement?
In our vision, it would be what we felt like was typical for other people in our same situation, which would be European travel,
I see.
cruises.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
Is it European cruises or
Both.
a European trip and then
And
a cruise as another time?
another time, yes.
see.
Like do tour packages to France and do tour packages to Italy, and then do the Viking riverboat that goes up and down the
Okay.
river, and then also ocean cruises to Haiti and Mexico and the Bahamas and that kind of thing. I always wanted to do more exotic things than your father did, so it was a compromise, because I always wanted to do Australia or Africa. I don't think that was going to happen, but I'd be happy to go anyplace else that would be a fun travel, typical retired tourist destination.
Okay. And did you decide to ever do any of those options?
Well, it sounds lame.
There's no judging here.
Okay. I wouldn't go because of my dog.
I see. I don't think he's still in the camera shot, but if we were doing this like a documentary, we would zoom in on
the dog. Yes. Because it turned out that the princess that I have as a dog,
Sorry, I thought when you said princess, You were speaking of me.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I moved on from you as a princess to my dog as a princess.
Okay. So you had a
I
dog.
had a dog that was a princess, and she didn't board well.
I see.
And she didn't board at all. We got actually kicked out of the boarding places because she could not. She wouldn't eat.
Mhm.
She was nippy, and
Mhm.
she soiled herself. Blah blah blah.
Can I ask, is one of these times that you tried the boarding any of these European travels or any of these cruise
No,
that you were speaking
no,
of?
we were doing a trial basis to see how she did at a boarding. So we just went to Disney World
Ah,
in
well,
Orlando for 3 or 4 days.
That's an adventure.
Right,
Okay.
and we got calls from the
Mm.
boarding place, and we got home, and she was a mess, and I was very sorry because your father had so much wanted to travel the world,
Mm.
and
Except Australia.
except for Australia and Africa, but I wouldn't go now.
Mhm. So that made you rethink what you can do to
Yes.
have this next phase of retirement
Yes.
that included travel.
Yes. And another thing happened during that time is we didn't travel for the first few years because of caretaking for
Mm.
David's, your father's stepmother,
Mhm.
Evelyn.
Mhm.
And after she passed away, then we were freed up. So now we could leave more than a week at a time without feeling guilty that he would need
If
us
the dog could go.
if the dog could go.
Okay. So, how did you decide to fulfill this new option of retirement?
Well, it was your father eventually that did it.
Mm.
Because I had always thought that retiring in those big bus-like RVs, motorhomes that older people are known to travel in was not a very attractive option.
Okay.
I kind of turned my nose up at it.
Okay. So you had the idea that, well, if we could take the dog with you and you could have a travel means, one way in the past that you had known of would be
To travel in
RV.
those great big long RVs, 35, 40-foot ones, and I did not want to do
and you
that.
weren't doing that.
No.
Okay.
And I had said to your father, I apologized that it was like this because I knew this wasn't his idea of retirement. I said, but we've got to be able to travel with the dog. Isn't there something we can do? And he started researching options.
See.
And he came to me, and I had never heard of this before. So, and it was not something on the radar of anybody in my community. And when I say that, I mean that almost everybody in my community is of the same age and retirement status and the same economic level
Okay.
and the same basic background as your dad and I.
I understand.
All right, so out of all the people in our neighborhood, nobody had ever heard of getting a small van, which is called a size B, a B van, which is like a 19 or 20 foot van that has facilities in it for traveling. That's like the old VWs from the 50s.
Okay.
Only
Those old
The
vans you traveled down to Disneyland in from the up north
Right.
situation?
exactly,
And
exactly.
with all your kids piled in the back?
Right. These are the modern versions. So
Okay.
he started researching it and found that there was, they were comfortable, they were easy to drive,
Mhm.
they had cooking facilities, bathroom facilities, sleeping areas,
Mhm.
and how would I think about that?
Okay. So he came to you with the suggestion of if it was a mini RV,
Right.
could we do it?
Yeah.
And here's what I found that fulfills
Yes,
that vision.
exactly.
Okay. And you said,
Show me,
okay.
and I loved it immediately.
Okay.
Because they were like driving a van,
Mm-hmm.
a regular size van
On the road.
on
it
the
would be a
road,
big road.
and you could park them anywhere in any parking lot.
Mhm.
And you know, you wanted to go to a restaurant, you just drove your house there,
But not
but not a huge 35, 40 foot type A. So we started looking at
Oh,
them.
I'm sorry. So type A is the RV that
The
you
big
were
ones.
thinking of from,
Yeah, the bus,
earlier
bus
times.
size ones, but that's an A.
and so the type B.
Is the little vans that are like
Ah.
21, 20 feet long.
Okay, that's interesting. So you decided upon the type B,
Yes, type B.
and that was it. What would you say happened next? That was
Well-
this now the solution to your
Yes, it did
Travel.
seem to be the solution. We were afraid to get into it big time because they are expensive, more expensive than you'd imagine for this size, but they have been so advanced in technology. I mean, they have batteries that you don't have to be plugged into a campground. They have batteries that run your lights and your stove and your refrigerator and stuff. They have everything in them that you're going to need: a microwave, heat, air conditioning, you know, so a really self-contained unit. I guess that's one way that they say it.
Right.
Self-contained unit. And to be there are different brands, so we started looking at the different brands and quality and price, and we started, so that was like a year of research,
Okay.
right? And your father fell in love with this Canadian brand that seemed to be very high quality, very attractive. We wanted aesthetics. We weren't young teenagers anymore. We wanted comfort.
You wanted all that technology.
We wanted all that advanced technology to run all of the stuff inside it. We didn't want to be inconvenienced with anything uncomfortable like a thin mattress on the bed or whatever. So we wanted to have kind of the luxury version
Okay.
of a van, of a B van.
Okay. Would you mind telling me briefly what is involved in the inside of the van?
Oh, okay, sure.
And just a brief outline, I guess, envisioned how you decided on which one, but also then how you visioned yourself living in it
Okay.
based on these amenities and aesthetic.
Okay, so it has the sliding door like normal vans do, but also has a screen door so you can leave your door open and not have insects come in, and then you can open that door easily and come in. It has granite countertops. Yeah, fancy. Stainless steel sink, a stove, two burner stove, a convection microwave,
Okay.
so I can bake in it.
Oh, so not an oven,
Not
but
an oven, but a convection microwave.
okay.
So I can microwave, I can bake in it, and lots of storage drawers and things. That was important. How much storage, how much cabinet, how well the cabinets are put together, that kind of stuff. Solid wood versus plywood with laminate, that kind of thing. So
And
this was very,
wood.
yeah, real wood, real beech wood, that kind of stuff. It has a bathroom that is has a vanity and a medicine cabinet and a toilet, but also you can put a curtain around that part and then take a shower.
Okay.
So you can actually shower in this small space. You have to get used to a small space, but you can shower. And so you have everything in there that you need.
Small space. Correct me if I'm envisioning this wrong. Would it be like a typical walk-in shower would be in a home? Is now your vanity and toilet and shower?
Yes.
So it's
Very
all
small.
one
All
built
tight.
in.
And yes, and you can get it wet. I mean, so you have the toilets made special and the floors made special, so that there's a drain in the floor that you stand on in front of the vanity. So yeah, so it's all in one shower.
Does it have water that you access, or you have to hook up to?
It has a tank that
Okay.
holds 24 gallons of water. It has a water heater in it. So if you have filled up your tank already, you can take several showers without having to be hooked up to another water source.
And if I ask you without much details, you can use the toilet as well,
That's right, and it has
without having to be hooked up to
that's right,
a
a source.
spot.
It has a tank that holds. There's a gray water and a black water. The black water is the toilet.
I see.
And that'll hold so many gallons, so you can go a few days without having to empty that. Then you have to go to a special facility that allows you to dump, a dump station.
Okay.
But you don't have to do that every time, so you can use the bathroom for several days without having to worry about that.
Okay.
It has a fan to pull the air through when you've opened the windows to make it cool. It has an air conditioner when it's hot, a heater when it's cold. There's a propane tank, so that does the heater and the stove.
Okay.
And if you wanted to hook up a barbecue grill for the outside, you could tap into that, so you could have a barbecue grill.
Nice. And your cabinets store all your food
Yeah, that's right.
that you need.
There's a cupboard that's a pantry. There's places to put dishes, places to put cleaning products, and then there's in the back. As far as you can go back, there is a couch and 2 ottomans during the day. And it's very comfortable. It's leather.
Nice.
Ooh.
Yeah, fancy.
And very pretty cream-colored leather. And then you put your bed down electronically. I mean, you push a button, it's electric. The couch turns into a bed.
Okay, so let me confirm. So the couch, you press something, pulls out.
The couch is like this.
Yeah, okay.
And you push a button and it goes like this.
Okay, and then that becomes the bed.
That becomes part of the bed.
Oh.
Then you have 2 ottomans here that you have been putting your feet up on. They're stationary. And you put a board in between those and a cushion. And now you have a king-size bed.
Ooh.
And it's very comfortable.
Okay.
And I have, the blankets and stuff stored in the cabinets above.
Yeah. So you have to make your bed.
I have to make the bed up every night to lay down, and I have to take it up every morning to go back to the couch
Okay.
and ottoman. And then when it's in the couch and ottoman stage, there is a table,
Okay.
a stand that hooks onto one of the ottomans
For
and
eating.
becomes a table that kind of rotates like this. So that's where you sit and eat your meals. So during the day, it's a table and a couch and a kitchen, and during the night, it's a bed.
Okay. Still got kitchen, just in case you need a midnight
That's
snack.
right. You can get up and get into that refrigerator. The refrigerator is bigger than average for that kind of a RV, and it has a separate freezer. So it's a decent size. So not like a little apartment size, but a decent size refrigerator.
And then the front is.
And you can walk from the front to the back. There's no wall there or partition, so the front is just a regular cab for a van.
Okay.
And so then the navigation is built in, like any modern van, and it has an awning that you can put out when you're stationary, and to sit under in the shade.
Okay, that's a good benefit.
And it has an outdoor shower that you can wash the sand off your feet.
I guess that's a good segue for thinking of washing your feet off in the sand. Where have you traveled? Just 5 top places.
Okay. Well, I'll say first that we have decided to travel for months at a time.
Oh, okay.
So we live in it full time for 3 or 4 months at a time.
I see.
And that we have found that to be very satisfying. Now, we took a 3 or 4 month trip and went through all the national parks in Utah.
Nice.
Yeah, because there's several there, Moab and a bunch of other that
National parks.
national
That's good.
parks. We did the Pacific Northwest,
Okay.
Olympic National Park up there, and we have done gone into Canada and done the east coast of Canada, which is called the Maritime Provinces, and we've done Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. And then we have also gone up to Canada in the midpoint, and then gone to the west and done and seen all of this. They're not national parks up there; they're called provincial parks. But the big ones up there, Banff, and the other ones that are great to see, and gone over to
Well-known parks.
well-known parks up there.
Okay.
And we've gone over to and gone across on the ferry, and gone to Vancouver Island
Okay.
and spent some time
On
there.
your-
In the
In the
van.
van.
In the van.
You crossed.
in the van in a ferry,
Nice.
and you can't do that with those big
Oh no.
A's. You
I
can't
can
get over
imagine.
there.
That ferry would not be able to
No.
hold that bus,
No.
as you called it.
It's we've done that now. This past fall we did the Texas, New Mexico area,
Mm-hmm.
and then went up through mountains. We've done the Badlands. Have I got to 5 yet?
I think you have, but on that, I'd actually like you to tell me what the Badlands are, if
Okay.
you don't mind, because I'm actually not familiar, and there might be other people who are not as familiar.
All right. Well, in South Dakota,
Okay.
where your aunt lives, by the way, there is an area of majestic formations, mountain formations, that the wind has carved out canyons that are so huge you can't even imagine it. You stand on a cliff edge and you are looking out over miles of acreage that are showing these beautiful mountains, mesas, plateaus. You can see the geographic layering of the rocks in all different colors.
Stratification.
Stratification. Thank you very much. And there's buffalo,
Oh.
antelope, herds of them that are still wild and natural there.
Hmm.
And it's just a breathtakingly beautiful area.
It's an area. Is it designated as a park, or is it an area?
It is. It is a park. It's a
Okay.
national park. Badlands National Park.
I see. And so, in a destination, say, going to the Badlands, you arrive. You have a campground.
Yes. In most of the parks there is a campground. Some of them do not even have facilities to plug into, so it's a good thing that we are self-contained.
Yeah, it's a very
Right.
helpful thing.
But you do get at least assigned a spot that you can sit, that no one will come and tell you to move along.
Okay.
You can, because of the size of the B-van, you can take all of these mountainous roads that go all up through these areas and get out and look at the overlooks and stuff like that. So you can take it just like a car. You don't have to get into another vehicle to do this. And so you stay overnight, maybe a couple of nights.
Traveling
Around the area, seeing all the different sites, the guided, you get maps that tell you where all the interesting sites are.
Where are these maps?
Oh, when you go into the park, they hand you the maps.
Okay. So we're still doing maps
Well, yes, maps to see the different areas and to know where to go to see the sites that you want to see. The cliff dwellers, you know, Indians that from 2,000 years ago or whatever's in there to see.
Quickly like to just ask, is there other options for this style of traveling than the map? Do you use technology in any other way
Well,
for planning your trips,
we
or for what you're
where we're going to stay and stuff like that.
and maybe when you are staying somewhere, how you decide where to tour?
Yes, there are lots of apps, and we have at least a dozen of those. And some of them say free camping, some of them are just any RV or any campground in the area. Some of them will be specific for state and national parks. Some of them are specific for being off the beaten path.
Hey.
You know, the ones we call off the grid, or which is my favorite.
All right, so off grid, you're using an app
App.
to go off grid.
I'm using an app to go off grid. That is
Nice.
correct, because there is something called Bureau of Land Management, BLM. So BLM land is land that is owned by the government, and they allow you to camp on it for free. There are no facilities, they'll just allow you to sit there.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these are way back in the middle of nowhere, and beautiful scenery and things you would never see in your life if you couldn't get back there. And again, little van can get back there because the roads are kind of rough sometimes. And we have...
And you can't go in a car because when you got back there, you can't.
You know, you could drive back there, you'd have to drive back out.
Yeah.
We can go back out there and we could set up camp, get our lawn chairs out, have our meals, watch the sunsets or the sunrises, depending on where you are. Take a little hike in that area with maps that we have on our app.
Okay.
And
So it's self-guided at this point.
Self-guided, yes.
You've gone off-grid and you're self-guiding yourself.
That's right.
And you're on your own in this adventure.
And yes, and we are, you know, some of these places have been so remote you could stand and turn in a 360-degree circle and not see another human being. And I'm staying there overnight.
Yeah.
And that is what I like. That's not what everybody likes.
And that's what you like.
But that's what I like. Some people just go to campgrounds and just plug in and have the facilities. But that's why I love this van life, because we can go off-road and we don't have to...
Off the beaten path?
Off the beaten path, exactly.
Very nice. Are you ever nervous when going to these isolated spots and staying overnight?
Yes, we have been. We have had a couple of times when we were very nervous about it.
Have you ever had an incident where you felt unsafe?
2 times.
Could you tell me one?
Okay, we had one where we were camping in this one was a county park. Sometimes counties or towns will have little campgrounds that you can go to for free or for $5 a night or something like that. And we were in a remote area, in a bad part of town. We had driven through an area of town that looked very low socioeconomic, very rough.
Okay.
A lot of graffiti, stuff like that. And we were the only ones staying here except for one other camper way at the other end. And we were feeling a little uncomfortable about this. And the person in the other camper kept walking behind our campground and staring at us like they were scoping us out. We have expensive electric bikes on our van.
Right. And your van itself is...
And our van itself is very expensive. And a lot of people will steal electric bikes because they are thousands of dollars. And this guy kept walking behind our van and stopping and staring at our rig, and then walking around to back to his, and then he did that 3 times. And we kept feeling like he was casing us.
I see. What did you do?
Nothing. He did not do anything.
Oh, you're very lucky.
Yeah. We just We stayed inside. We locked the doors. We watched.
The doors are safe,
The doors are safe.
locked, and
Yes, and we were kind of nervous that night. Every time we heard a sound, we'd wake up and look out to make sure that nobody was tampering with our stuff. But
this incident never affected your decision to decide maybe this van life wasn't for you.
no, because that was the exception.
I see.
And we just went, if we feel sketchy when we go in, we should leave.
Okay.
And that was when we first parked there, we said, I don't know, what do you think about this place? And we were a little doubtful. So the next time we said, next time we feel a little doubtful, we'll just
Find
move
another
on.
place. Okay, so on that, when you find places in traveling, say you had to find another spot after you've gotten here, how would you find a spot that's not a campground?
Well, there are also on apps
Mm.
that tell you that. But there are places that you can park in businesses' parking lots. Cracker Barrel lets you park overnight. You don't have to purchase anything. They just have spots, and you don't have to ask them. It's just places.
And your spot is a van-sized spot.
That's right. It's a larger than it's a normal parking space,
Right.
and you can park in that.
Yeah.
And not McDonald's. Walgreens, Walmart. Thank you. I was having trouble with
We'll
that.
cut that out.
Yeah. Okay. Walmart.
So
Other places like that.
Walmart will let you stay in their parking lot overnight.
Yeah, some of them will. That's why you need the app.
I see.
The app will tell you if you can or can't stay in that one.
And you're okay with just staying in a parking lot?
Well, the first few times we did it, it felt weird.
Mm.
Like I would say, I'm taking a shower in a
Yeah.
parking lot. But
I'm gonna go to the bathroom
yes,
now.
yeah.
You're not supposed to go to the bathroom in a parking lot.
Yes, I know. It felt very strange, but after that, it became normal. Besides, there's 10 other people there with you.
So there's other people doing this.
Mm-hmm.
You can spot them.
And then my favorite way to park is this specific app that we pay for called Harvest Host.
Harvest Host.
And that allows you to go to whatever business has signed up with them, and you park in their parking lot for free. They would like you to come in, if it's a restaurant, to eat there. If it's a winery, to come in and buy a bottle of wine. If it's a farm, buy some produce. That's the point. But you're not under an obligation to do that.
So there's wineries you can stay at.
Wineries, breweries, distilleries, farms,
Do
museums.
you have a funny farm experience?
There was one where we were very out we were going to a farm. We knew it was a farm. We weren't sure what their reason for having us there was, because they didn't actually have produce. But they were going to allow us to park in their area. So by the time we got there, it was late, so it had been hard to go on anyplace else. And he had us go way, 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 way back in a field. So we were like in the middle of a meadow.
Okay.
And
Pasture,
and there were cows in the pasture.
Okay.
And so we were sitting out in the middle of a pasture, and we were relaxing, and we got startled by a banging on the door, and we opened the door, and it was the
Scary.
farmer.
Oh,
it was a little startling,
That's loud.
but it was daytime.
Oh, okay, I see.
And we opened the door, and the farmer said, "Oh, my wife said to tell you that if you want to buy some eggs, we have enough."
Okay.
And so I said, "Yes, we want to buy some eggs." And when he had the eggs in his hand,
Back when eggs were affordable.
back when eggs were affordable, but we gave him $5 for the eggs because it was a special place. We wanted them to have a tip or whatever.
I see.
And when I opened up the egg carton, the eggs were all different colors because he had about 10 different species of chickens. And there were blue eggs, green eggs, brown eggs, white eggs, all kind of colors. And some were big.
Dr. Seuss here.
Yeah.
Green eggs and
Yeah. And some of them were, one of them was a goose egg, and one of them was a little bitty chicken egg, and one of them was a duck egg. That was really cool.
That's funny. Okay. Was there any other farm animals that you met that
At different times.
you like
Oh.
visiting?
Yes, I'm always up for an alpaca farm.
An alpaca farm.
Yes. I just love alpacas, and I knit, so they always have their yarn, and I often get to meet the alpaca that's the actual yarn that I'm buying,
Wow.
and that to me is fun. I mean, that wouldn't thrill everybody, but
If you're doing the off-beaten path, like you said,
Yeah.
you only get to experience these kind of things if you're
yeah.
doing the travel this way.
Yeah, so I'll make a shawl out of Cleo, because that was the alpaca's name that I know the shawl, know the yarn came from,
Mhm.
and so then I can call that piece that I've knit that name. I know that's kind of fun for me.
Okay, that's really fun, actually.
We stayed at a goat farm one time. We weren't prepared for the smell of a goat farm.
Yeah, we are from the house that you sold to move down in Florida is a country town.
Yeah,
You are experienced with
yeah.
farm animals.
Yeah.
And so, do you ever coordinate the places you're going to, not with the alpacas, because I know you're friends with them now. Do you ever coordinate with other people on the road in this lifestyle you're leading?
We do. They have rallies. I'm gonna sneeze.
Okay, we'll cut that out. Bless you.
Rallies are groups of like-minded people, and in our case, it'll be everyone who owns the same brand of van that we have, not just a B, but a Pleasureway van,
I see.
a
We are all
manufacturer.
brand loyal
Yes, brand
B
loyal
van
people. Yes,
people.
yes. And we get notifications of that. We belong to a group that will give us notifications that there's going to be a rally in Sarasota, and there's going to be 78 Pleasureway vans there. And then they'll have people come from the company in Canada to talk to us about our vans and the new things that are coming up, and are we having any trouble with our vans. And they'll have cookouts, and we'll get together with people and we'll talk about where they've been, where we've been, and how they handle this, and maybe we should do that. So we have a good time.
Plan that on your extended trip
We'll go
in
to
between
rallies
alpaca
and
farms
yeah.
and
we'll go
parks.
to rallies. Like when we went to Canada, we went to a rally, and then we went on to Quebec and did some other things.
You keep in touch with them?
And sometimes we do.
Okay.
So we meet people, the same people at the different rallies, and then we know them,
Okay.
and we will either Facebook or texting. There's one couple that we've especially become friends with, and they have family in the area where we live, so every time they come into town, they contact us. We get together with them for a meal, that kind of stuff. So yeah, we've made a lot of nice friends.
Okay. So you don't ever feel lonely on the road?
No, actually, we like it.
Mm.
We like the remoteness of it.
Okay.
We're good with that. I mean, some people just couldn't stand that, but your dad and I are
Okay.
really good with ourselves.
You're retiring. You want to be.
We enjoy each other's company, and we like what we do with our time. So we pretty much.
This is your version now of retirement.
This
then.
is it. This is it. This is what. And in fact, the other day I said that to your dad. He said something, and I said, "Well, this is our thing. This is what we do. Other people don't do this." In fact, my friends in my neighborhood still don't quite get it. They don't know why anybody would want to be in a little tiny 20-foot van for 3 or 4 months at a time.
Mm-hmm. Staying in the Walmart parking lot.
Staying in Walmart parking lots. And then when I tell them the remote things we do, no, they wouldn't like that. Or the trips, the hikes we'll take, and then maybe there's a bear. That kind of scary stuff.
That is a little scary.
Yeah. So no, that doesn't seem to appeal to them.
More. I was thinking when you said you went to these rallies and they might ask you how your van's doing. Have you ever had van trouble?
We have.
And just briefly, how would you handle that and other things that come up on the road like that?
Well, we do have the emergency assist, you know,
Okay.
where the ambulance, not the ambulance, the tow truck will come.
Okay.
Sometimes it's a minor thing. One time we had a windshield, rock came up and cracked a windshield, and we had to stay someplace for a couple days to get a new windshield. So we have to deal with it individually. The worst one we had was during COVID, because we were in a rest area on a highway far from any town either way, and the car wouldn't start. And
the van wouldn't start.
The van, yes, the van wouldn't start, and we called, and because of COVID, the tow truck driver wouldn't let us ride in the cab with him to go to where the van to be repaired, and we couldn't ride in the van while he was towing it. So he said he would come out and get the van, but we would be left in a rest park with no vehicle.
That doesn't
Yes,
sound
that
like
was
a
the
good
worst
plan.
time.
Yeah.
And we said, well, then we'll get a taxi. We were like 15 miles from the nearest town. We'll get a taxi. And he said, no, taxis are not running now because of COVID. And so there was a short period of time when I was trying to figure out what I would have to take out of the van in order to sleep on a picnic table.
Oh, that's adventurous.
Yeah, that was the worst, because I really thought we were going to be in there, that rest park overnight, and then they were going to go fix the van and then bring it back to us.
Did that
Next
make you
day.
any emotional distress?
Yes,
Mm.
yes, that was scary. And
Comparable to any distress that we spoke of, and a level of everything that you've gotten to this point of deciding to retire and deciding to move to Florida and deciding to get a van, almost having possible thieves take your e-bikes. Where would you rate this level?
This was more of a frustration.
I see.
This was more of a, I can't believe this is happening.
Mm.
I suppose anybody could have car trouble in the same way on a trip. It wasn't specific for our camping or our, yeah, this was just a very frustrating car trouble situation.
Were you able to solve it?
Yes, we were, eventually your father was able to get it started.
Oh,
And yeah,
lucky.
it was lucky. We had to take things apart. I mean, it was quite, and it was hot.
Mm.
So it was like 100 degrees out. So it was a very hot, irritable, sweaty situation, and he was able to kind of bypass the starter, sort of
Wow.
jump it.
Should we note for the record that my father is not a mechanic or handy, as they would
Yes.
say in a general term.
That is absolutely true. And once we got it started, we did not turn it off again until we got to the place that said they would fix it the next day. They allowed us to park in their parking lot overnight,
Okay.
and
And they got it fixed.
yeah, and we got it fixed.
And financially, you were able to handle these situations that come up along the road,
We are.
and that has never been something that would deter you.
No,
From
it's
continuing on.
annoying to have to spend more money than you want,
Mm-hmm.
but you sort of accept that this is not a cheap, even though it's cheap in that we try to stay in places that don't cost a lot of money to stay.
I see.
The van itself is not cheap. The storage of the van is not cheap. The insurance for it, the
Right.
upkeep, everything that goes into it is, you've got to know that going in.
There you go. Plan for that.
So
And-
we say, can we afford to do
Yeah.
this, even if worst case scenario happens? Yes, we can, so we will.
And you think that has to do with the planning that you had done
Yes.
for your preparation of retirement?
Yes.
Even if this was maybe not the retirement you had originally thought you'd be experiencing.
Yes. This is our planning for 30 or 40 years made it possible for us to do this, because otherwise we would never have been able to afford a van like this,
Mm-hmm.
let alone all the other incidentals that go in with it.
That come up. And,
These are very expensive vans.
oh, okay. Well,
They cost as much as a house.
I see. So you have a traveling house. Well, you don't have the house up north, so
That's
I
right.
guess there is that to think of. This is just your second home for 3 months out of the year.
That's right.
Quickly on expenses, you never worried about gas prices?
No, that's another thing. We said if we can't afford, just because the prices go up, if that's a deterrent, we shouldn't even be doing this.
Okay.
So we basically were living with this life a little below our means. If we wanted to, we could stay in expensive hotels
Mm,
and have a more expensive type of travel.
okay.
But we have chosen this, which is within our level.
Okay.
It's not within everybody's level,
Right.
but it's within our level.
But you're not exceeding
We're
yourself.
not exceeding.
Or extending.
No, we're not depleting our retirement at a
Mhm.
faster rate than we should. We're not going hungry. We're not.
Mhm.
We're not saying we can't pay this bill because we have none of these other things. No, we are living within our means.
Okay. And those means would include health insurance as you are older and getting older.
Yes.
Things also come up.
Yes.
Van breaks down. You don't want to be breaking down.
Right. Exactly.
So is that something that has been a benefit from your career, or that the benefit from having saved to be able to afford a policy that would help you in this situation?
In our case, it's the place that I was employed,
Okay.
because I think that I get I have to pay for insurance,
Okay.
but the insurance is much more reasonable than it would be or if I was relying only on Medicare, which I can get now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Medicare is 80/20. That means that Medicare will pay for 80% and you have to pay for 20%.
20%.
So
Okay.
I have an insurance policy that picks up that other 20%.
I see. Okay.
So if in normal day to day, that's not important because you could afford that. But if you had a catastrophic illness like cancer
Mm.
or a big automobile accident or something like that, that 20% would be
Astronomically.
yes.
I mean, and is Dad in a similar situation? You don't have to be specific, but he's covered as well.
He's covered under my policy.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That was a very good situation there.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to get help on the road during these 3 months adventures.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's a little stickier if you leave the country. So
Mm.
when we go to Canada, we have to be careful. We have to get an extra policy for that.
I see.
International travel.
And you've planned for that
We
extra expense?
Plan for that extra expense. We know that is going to happen. So we know that we're going to have to pick that up. But otherwise, if we stay in the lower 48,
Okay, and that you can describe for us is?
is all of the states in the United States except Alaska and Hawaii.
Okay. So you're pretty safe in that way.
Yes, for our
You feel
insurance.
comfortable.
Our insurance will cover us everywhere.
Okay. Is there ever going to be a time that you might not feel comfortable doing this? Possibly because either finances or health reasons?
Health reasons.
That's going
That's
to
what we
be
worry about.
okay.
We worry about because there is a bit of a even though we're not as active and we don't walk as many miles as we used to on hikes and things, there is a bit of a physical component to it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like emptying the tanks, picking up the bikes, getting the bikes off
On
of
the rack.
off the rack
Mhm.
and putting them back up there. That takes some lifting.
I see.
And if we get
Walking is
and-
if
and-
you do these trails you're speaking of.
and we do trails, and you know, I already can't do the ones I used to do that have steps.
I see.
I have to have the flat trails or very low grade trails, or I have to say we're not going to do the trails now, we're going to do the bikes because the bikes don't hurt my back and that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's probably going to be a time, maybe in 10 to 12 years,
That's
that we're going to say we're done with this part of our retirement. Now we're going to stay home.
so you think you have stages of your retirement
Yes.
itself.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean that makes sense. I'm wondering how many years you've done this van life.
7.
Okay. And it is only within how long that you've felt that maybe can't do exactly what we used to do 7 years ago.
The last year.
The last
The
year.
last year has been a little hard with my medical problems. I'm
Mhm.
having some increased back pain and limitations.
Okay.
Your father's pretty good.
Okay.
He has a little bit of arthritis, but it's not too bad. But I'm getting so well. The basic thing is giving up the hiking.
Yeah.
I've had to do that because I can't make it up to the mountain top.
So you think maybe 20 years a total of the van life?
That would be very good.
That's your ideal?
That would be ideal.
Okay. And prior to the van life, you had spent time in Florida, guesstimating how many years before this new life started?
5 or 6
Okay, so 5 or 6
of
of permanent
just-
residency.
Yeah, just kind of staying put, maybe taking a week here and there,
Okay.
going to Orlando, to Disney World. That was the first 5 or 6 years. Now we've done the traveling in the States
For 7
for
years.
7 years. Hopefully we'll be able to do it for another 10 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably go back to the first part where we are staying home and just
Station.
enjoying that we are in a nice weather area.
Okay. So I was
Waiting to die.
Well, I didn't want to say that, but thinking about my time and my generation would be the millennial, and planning for that, waiting till you die. What do you think the millennials' experience with retirement will be?
Well, you know, I hadn't really given that a lot of thought until you and I were discussing the new trends in jobs markets and the changing view that, you know, like when I was young, you got a job, you kept in that same job for 4 years, then you retired, and that's completely different now.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see that that's going to be a real challenge, and I don't know exactly how it's going to work. Some people are YouTube's subscriptions, people that we watch routinely on YouTube.
Yes.
Some of them are millennials
Okay.
because they're working from their van
Okay.
because they can work online. So that's a big area that didn't used to be available.
They're not in retirement though.
They're not
so
really retired.
That's
They're not really, you're right. They're not retired, but they're doing a completely different lifestyle that anything I would ever have been able to
Mhm.
imagine.
Well,
But you're right. They're
you're
not
doing a
retired.
different retirement that nobody would have originally
No,
imagined.
that's true. That's true. Including myself.
so.
I did not know that this was the way I was going to spend the time and that how much I was going to like it.
Okay. So
But for millennials, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure how that's going to work. I mean, is your brother a millennial?
He's a Gen Xer. He's retiring before me.
Yeah.
I was wondering if keeping out of politics, if you think the decisions we made in our career, based on possibly what we've saved, knowing your children specifically, not in a speaking for all, and possible like cost of living and concerns with Social Security, do you think we'll ever be able to do the kind of retirement that you enjoy?
You know, I think that's really sad, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know your brother, who's a little closer to retirement than you are, but not by much.
Not very much.
But I know his views are that he won't have that big bulk of money that you have in special CDs and 401ks and stuff. He won't have that.
The property,
And
it's a thing. No,
Yeah.
the house
Yeah.
owning and then selling
Right.
the home.
right,
Uh,
he won't be able to.
you had that advantage.
Yes.
That helps with the portfolio.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think it's going to be a real different picture.
Yeah. Yeah. Would there be any advice you could give us? Maybe too late for Ben, but possibly for me.
Well, it's hard to say save because yeah, everybody obviously knows that
That's
you
That's
should
right.
do that, but it's just so hard
Mhm.
if you don't disposable income. That's the word I was trying to think
I
of
see.
earlier.
Yeah.
It's so hard to have disposable income that you can say, I don't need this to actually live.
Mm-hmm.
I can put this in a savings account for my future. It's just really hard to do that.
Do you say we're living paycheck to paycheck?
Yes, paycheck to paycheck.
Can you extend that to the general millennial group, or are you specifying just for me and Ben?
Well, I don't, I'm 71. I'm not in touch
Mm-hmm.
with what's going on with millennials as much as I could be.
You say it's definitely, since we've been in the workforce, a different
Yes.
trajectory, and possibly those decisions we've made based on whether we've chose them or it's the changing society, political, cultural, economical, but it doesn't look like the same
No, it doesn't look the same.
as when you were working and making these plans for your retirement.
No, it doesn't look like that. I mean, there's a lot, I think, I'm not positive about this, but I think there's a lot more career changing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I changed careers, but it was in the same line of work that I was doing. I went from an RN to an LP, nurse practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
And like you,
Well, that's what I was asking.
yeah, like you.
What do you think?
Yeah, I know. So there's a lot of changing midlife
Yeah.
careers, and that's exciting. But then it's harder to get that stability.
Mhm.
That okay, now I'm going to save for my future, because now you have to start out at an entry level again.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems like it's going to be very difficult for you and for other people in your same situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would imagine that even though you went to school at the same age that I'm going back to school, it's not necessarily going to be
I know.
a similar path
No,
towards what could be retirement.
no. When I became a nurse practitioner, I knew that my salary would be much higher
Mm-hmm.
from my RN salary, and RN salaries are not bad.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like I was going to have to start out at a lower level
Mhm.
again and then move up.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was
Yeah.
a little different.
So do you think the word retirement will exist?
Oh, I don't know about that. Retirement will certainly mean something different. I don't know. That's a hard one. I think that it will exist, but I think the meaning will be different. It'll be. I think there'll be people working into their 80s, if they are able,
Right,
physically able,
right,
mentally.
right.
So they.
We maybe label it just another stage
Yeah,
and not
I
put that word retirement on it?
Yeah, I think maybe you just call it a late life stage or
Mhm.
something like that. Or there might be just a stopping at 60 something of the career path, and then making another job market for yourself, like
That's more suitable for
for
that
that,
next
for that
stage
age,
in your
yes,
life.
yes,
Okay.
that you can handle, that is a little more relaxing, that is maybe a little bit slower, slow down your
Pace.
life, but don't just stop working.
So, your retirement in a word that you learned when you were growing up from hearing your parents or having, them explain it to you. Is that not what would exist?
I don't think so. No, I think that was very cut and dried. That was like everybody understood what that meant. And some people thrived and some people didn't like it, but it was always the same thing. You worked until a certain age, you stopped working, you didn't work anymore. You either enjoyed that or you became depressed and didn't like it. But nobody thought about just and there was mandatory retirement in a lot of jobs.
Okay.
And so when you got to be 65, even if you were capable of working till you were 75, you couldn't because the job wouldn't allow you to. I think
Okay.
that's all changed.
That's all changed. Yeah. I think that could be reasonable to say. That's not working till 65 and stopping working and moving to a southern place and waiting your days out.
Yeah, just having leisure time till
It's-
you died.
No. Do you think we could do the van life?
If you're working,
Okay.
you could do the van life if you have an ability to have an income in some way remotely.
Mm-hmm. And then experience that
Yeah, so
you experience while maintaining
So
a
you
salary.
you can still have a wonderful experience in seeing the mountains and seeing the desert and the ocean and everything, and then setting aside your 8 hours a day or whatever it takes to do your remote work. So you don't have to be stationary. That's a big difference.
Okay, so the sedentary lifestyle with moving lifestyle, and with technology, you can maybe combine
Right.
and experience, and maybe that's something that Ben could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, he certainly doesn't have to be tethered to a job place that he goes into,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
yeah, he could do it from anywhere in the world.
So a greater social change
Yes,
overall.
Yeah, yeah.
In
I
our
think that-
society.
I think so too. I think it's what is that called? Well, just to be more mobile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you look back and ever regret the choices of moving to Florida at that time?
I do.
You still would
I
have
still would have. I
worked.
still would have chosen to work for a few more years. I missed it.
Do you
And
ever go back to work?
I was going to go back to work when I first went to Florida, but then I realized that I really liked my job because more of the people I worked with
Mm-hmm.
and the clientele that I had. And so, no, I will never go back to work.
Okay. So,
Unless it's maybe a Michael's or something.
you have alpaca yarn.
Or-
You don't need to work at Michael's.
That's right.
So, then looking back, do you think the van life is the right decision for retirement for
Oh,
you?
if you can do it.
With you,
For me,
You decide.
absolutely. I mean,
you don't have any regrets.
I don't have any regrets. In fact, I'm sitting at home in between our trips in this beautiful Florida area, and I just want to go again. I just want to get in the van and go again. I could live in the van full time. So no regrets at all. And the only thing your father regrets is that we can't at this point get a new van that has even more advanced technology in it. So,
But not a bigger size.
but not a bigger size, never a bigger size.
Okay. So, van life equals retirement to you.
That's exactly right.
think of yourself as retired?
Yeah.
In the traditional sense of retired?
Yeah, in that I don't have to go to work. That I can have, that every day actually is a leisure day for me. There are no Saturday and Sundays to look forward to. That's a little downer, but every day is Saturday and Sunday.
Well, I'm glad you're really happy with your decisions.
Yes, I am.
Thank you very much for allowing me to interview you and taking the time to answer some of my questions.
Well, you're welcome.
Was there anything else you'd like to add that you think might be helpful or that you felt was important to share about your experience?
Timpy likes van life.
Okay, and that was the most important thing.
That was the whole point.
Yes. Lupin does not like long interviews.
No, Lupin is quite restless.
So that would be the point of why we're gonna turn that off.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mama.
You're welcome.
Called you Mama like Ben does.